Hello and welcome to today's TCT talk, Cyber Attacks on SAP. Are you prepared? Joining us on the talk today, we have Andy Bailey, who is the Technical Team Manager here at TCT, myself, Will Dunkerley, and my colleague Laurel Christer, and we are the two senior SAP security consultants within the technical team. Our technical team work primarily within the AMS side of the business, but we also get involved in consulting work and a bit of project delivery as well. So then jumping straight into today's subject, cyber attacks and SAP. Cyber attacks obviously is a very hot topic for everybody at the moment. You can't have failed to have noticed the very high profile attacks that we've had, particularly here in the UK, but also globally as well in the last few months. And we're starting to find with our customers that we're seeing a lot of concern coming in this area, and a lot of sort of misunderstanding, and a lot of people being really just a little bit lost of, what do we do? What do we do on our SAP estate to really sort of secure that as best we can? So what we wanted to cover today was really where your SAP systems, your SAP landscape sit within your overall cybersecurity strategy, and basically try and simplify things a little bit, maybe set your minds at rest, and maybe give you some basic pointers of where you can get started on that journey towards a more secure SAP platform. So Andy, probably the best place to start then is, why don't we frame where that SAP landscape sits within our overall cybersecurity platform?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Will. Cybersecurity and SAP security are two very different things, but they are very closely linked. So if we start with cybersecurity, that's one thing that every organization will have in place to one degree or another. And that starts really with the kind of, if we want to think about it in layers. So you've got your top layer, which is your physical security. That could be security guards, key fobs for doors, biometrics. And then that kind of gets you into the organization. And once you're in, it's the next level is the network type stuff. So your firewalls, your access control list, certificates, all of that stuff that's keeping your devices and individuals secure whilst on the premises. And then beneath that is the application layer. And that's where all your data is, your intellectual property is. And within that is SAP. SAP is one of those applications that's holding data. And it could be all kinds of different data. It could be HR data, could be intellectual property, could be customer data. SAP is used obviously for a wide variety of different things. And that's what we're talking about today. We're talking about SAP, how we can secure that SAP system and, all the environments within that. So that's really what I wanted to focus on today in terms of this conversation around what we can do and what we can do to help you and make sure that you're really not the next victim that's in the news. That's what we want to kind of aim.
I think we've got, to an extent, we've got a bit of comfort from that sort of outer layer of security that our SAP systems sit within. But in the real world, first of all, our SAP systems are very often exposed to the outer world anyway. But in certainly one of the recent high-profile cyber attacks we've had in the UK, the hackers actually got through that outer layer of security, and they sat within the organisation for several months. And if they're able to get into that point, and then you have zero SAP security, or your SAP security is just substandard, then your data's at risk.
Yeah, absolutely. There's threats from all over the place. It's internal, external, accidental, fraud. There's so many different threat factors that we need to really kind of look at, which is why it's really crucial that we close as many gaps as possible in terms of SAP vulnerabilities.
And we really care about the customer data. We want to protect that customer data as much as we can. And we offer a vulnerability vulnerability assessment service. And it's already been taken up by a number of our customers. What it is basically a report. We go into your productive system. We identify the risks. We provide this report. There's no judgment in that report. We're there to help. We're there to reduce any risks that we find and share the information with you. And it's also in a language you understand. So we're techies. It wouldn't be so technical. We also talk business language. And then at the end of it, what we do is we provide a workshop where we run through the report and then answer any questions you may have. And actually, the worst thing you can do is nothing.
We talk about the impact of doing nothing, and you even begin to quantify that. Out of the high-profile attacks that we all know about that have happened in the UK recently, one of those customers, a big retailer, has calculated 300 million in lost sales alone. Another one's a big manufacturer who didn't produce a single unit off the shop floor of the production line, for a month, and a lot of staff being sent home. But those are very much headline figures. So how do you quantify the reputational damage? What about the damage to your share price? What about maybe regulatory fines if you've lost customer data, for example? GDPR can be fines of up to 4% of global turnover. We've also spoken as well recently, haven't we? What about the cultural impact on some of your employees? Some of those customers, if you've lost 300 million quid in sales, you're probably not getting a Christmas bonus this year. Maybe you're not getting your pay rise next year. That results in a demotivated workforce. That leaves people actually more exposed to security vulnerabilities because people who are demotivated aren't keeping security at the forefront of their minds. So that impact is really difficult to quantify,
Absolutely, Will. And it's all about having a pragmatic approach. You need to ask yourselves where you want to be and where you want to go with your security. It's all about you thinking about the audit level. Some of our customers are SOX audit compliant, others just have internal audits, and then you've got your ISO, your SOC 1, your SOC 2, SOC 3. There's lots more out there, and you may think you are doing things currently to help prevent this risk, but it's the things you are not doing that you need to be thinking about. And you can't be 100% secure. If you are, then you're going to have a non-functioning system. Yep. It's all about improving your security at 95%. That's great. You can be 95%. That's better than what you probably are today.
Yeah, and to add to that sort of level of audit compliance that is obviously mandatory for a lot of our customers, there's also your business's appetite for risk. So, we've talked about some customers even have an insurance policy to say, okay, well, we'll just get insurance to pay out. That's what I would say is a fairly high appetite for risk. Us in security would have a much lower one. But those are the things that will help you define where is your target state? Where do you want to get to? So how do you get to that target state? Well, the first thing you've got to do is find out where you are now. Imagine being out in the car, you want to get to Birmingham. If you've got no idea where you are now, you don't know what your roadmap is to get there. So our vulnerability assessment will help you to identify where you are now and what's your roadmap to help you get to where you want to go. And what's the steps that you want to be taking to get somewhere closer to that 100%.
Yeah,
like you say, exactly. You're never going to hit it,
Yeah, that's right. And that's some really simple, quick wins that you could do. Your inactive users that are locked, make sure their roles and profiles are not assigned to that user or to any users. You've got two critical users in your system that you may not know about. One's called SAP Star and the other one's called DDIC. These both have really high level critical profiles assigned to them, allowing them to do many things. And what you can do is, if the password has not been changed in the default one, you can Google it and then you can log in as those users. A really simple one is check your processes. Go through your processes, review them, make sure you're adhering to them. That's all part of the vulnerability assessment, actually. We can really help with your process documentation if you need any advice. And then the last one I can think of is the help desk. If your help desk is using the same password to reset users every day, they're probably resetting many passwords, and if it's the same one every time, people can listen, people can hear, and then take advantage of that. That logging in, if they know that their colleagues is getting the password reset just by a phone call, they know that a help desk is going to select login at 123. I'll log in as that user. If they have higher critical authorizations assigned to that user, you could do lots of damage.
Yeah, that's a really good point, Laurel, because I think a lot of people, they've done the work in the past maybe, and not understanding that security is always a constant work in progress. So you could have a super secure password reset. I mean, obviously in an ideal world, you'd have some kind of password self-service tool, but not everybody's fortunate enough to have that. So maybe you've got a very strong policy which says we must have our help desk providing a unique complex password for every reset that they do. But if they're doing that 20 times a day and they start to slip into that welcome 123 sort of mentality, then you've got your process is great, but your adherence to it is failing. And those are the kind of really simple things that we talk about, Andy. We quite often talk about this sort of house analogy, don't we? Of, how do you secure your house? Well, you lock your front door and your back door. They're the simple things you can do. Then you invest in window locks. And there are a whole load of things you can do before you get to the point of needing a sophisticated alarm system. Not that you shouldn't do that, but you can do a whole load of very inexpensive and easy fixes before you get to that point. And every single one of those things will make you a little bit less attractive to a hacker, a little bit more difficult for them to compromise, and hopefully make somebody else an easier target. Not all that simple, though, is it? There are some nice easy wins.
Yeah, it's never that simple, unfortunately. There are more technical things to be looking at, especially from an SAP basis side of things. Top of my head, you're thinking kind of RFC connections, any peripheral systems that you've got communications to, message monitoring, transports, even access control lists. So all of these things, including your security layers that you're using, so TLS, SSL, certificates, all of that needs to be kind of adhered to from a basis point of view. And whilst it's a lot of me saying that's technical, it's basis, and you might be thinking, well, how do I know that that's being done? The simple answer to that would be ask your basis team. These things, if they're not being done, are highlighted on the early watch reports. So if they are on the early watch reports, you should, as a customer, have visibility of those early watch reports, and you should be going to early watch meetings, review meetings, and assessing, okay, this is back to your point earlier, assessing where you are. That early watch report is exactly that. It's telling you where you are to a lot of these issues that are existing in your system. So ask the questions, why aren't they being fixed? If you're getting the same things month after month after month and they're still there, it's okay, well, what's being done? What's the mitigation? And that's the sort of thing you should be doing as a pragmatic thing. You might not understand it, but you may be able to say, look, this should be done. These are high critical alerts that are coming through. Another easy one really is the vulnerability notes that SAP release on a weekly basis. We are seeing more and more of these vulnerabilities being exploited, and SAP are trying to keep on top. Same with Microsoft or any big MSP. They're trying to keep on top of their platform and keep these vulnerabilities down to a minimum. But there's always going to be exploits. So, you should be asking your basis team, are these notes being applied to these vulnerabilities that are found? Because the important thing there as well is SAP are making these vulnerabilities known. Here's a patch for it. But for a hacker or an exploit, someone wants to come in and think, oh, I know this exploit, I'm going to try and use that. If they're in your system, they're going to use that in your system. So it's really key to make sure that your basis team are doing this on a regular basis.
Yeah, and just coming back to the early watch report and the high criticality OSS notes, I mean, those things are freely available to you and tailored to your system as well.
Yes.
Yeah. So if you're not doing that, you're missing out on free information. And as you say, in the case of the high criticality notes, information that somebody else could be using, so you should be using it first. But go through those early watch reports every month, look at the security section, not just the performance, and just start chipping away at those things.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think one of the key things as well that you really want to be thinking about is all of these security things that you are putting in place or that you are asking your basis team to check. Make sure first and foremost that these are in your production system. So, because that's where your data is, that's where your critical information is, that's what you want to protect. Get it right in the production system. Then you can do it through on your quality and dev. Now that sounds counterintuitive. Normally we talk about we want to start at dev and go through, but for security, we want to make sure that your production system is as locked down as it can be to protect that data.
And again, that comes back to that pragmatic, structured approach, doesn't it? We start in production. Obviously, we don't stop there. We're going to work back through our other systems and out more sort of towards that outer layer. But start where your critical data is. Yeah. Start with the simple fixes, and those are all things that you can do that are just moving you a little bit closer to that sort of 100%. Again, that magic figure that we know we're never going to hit, but if you hit 95, right?
Better than what you're doing now, isn't it?
Yep, for a lot of customers, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep.
So as all those things we just discussed, That's all in the vulnerability assessment. We keep talking about it, but it's a really great start to getting your productive system more secure, and the data that you want protected. Like, we care about your customer data, we want to protect it, and there's no judgment in this report. We're not going to judge you in any way. We're here to help. It's not disruptive. We've got 70 years experience between us all. We go into your productive system, we identify the risks, we write a report. The report's long, so what we recommend is a workshop to go through with you, everything, explain everything, what it means. It's in a language you understand, and it's just a great way to start this journey, this security journey of yours.
That's great, Laurel. And I think there's also a point that I'd like to make, and I'm pretty sure you'll agree with me, that myself, Andy, and Laurel have all been end users in Andy's case basis, in Laurel's and mine in security for customers, and we know what it's like to have that responsibility on your shoulders. That for me has led to some sleepless nights in the past. I'm pretty sure it has for you guys too.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's also led as well to a little bit of concern. Somebody external is coming in and looking at your security. You feel like they're judging you, and we totally understand that. And what I'd like to do is, to anybody that's sitting there thinking, yeah, I quite fancy that, or I could really use it, but I don't want to be judged. We're not going to judge you. We have absolutely no interest in doing that. What we want to do is to work with you to identify those quick wins that we can do to make you that little bit more secure. We live in a world now where there is no room for ego when it comes to security. There's no room for sensitivity. We have to just work together, find out the weak points, and close them off, and make ourselves a little bit stronger than the people down the road who hopefully will become the target rather than ourselves. So please don't feel that we'll be judging you. There will be nothing on your system that we haven't seen before. We can pretty well guarantee you that.
That's right.
So,
yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think just to add to that, we see this as, if you get us on board and help with this assessment or any kind of security issues that you may have, we're an extension of your team. We're not. Yes, we may have a third party. Yes, we're coming in, and you've paid us to do something potentially, but we are an extension of your team. If something goes wrong, we're held accountable for that, and we hold ourselves accountable for that. So we want to make sure that your security is as good as it can be in those systems. We'll be judging ourselves. We don't need to know. We don't want people to think, oh, they're coming in as the experts trying to point out we've done something wrong. Absolutely not. Like you said, Will, we're there to work with you and help you. It doesn't have to be in regards to the vulnerability assessment. Could be general security questions or concerns. Please feel free to drop us a line, any one of us, and we'll happily take that question on board and get back to you.
Perfect. Yeah, I'd echo that. We're always happy to take comments as well. If you want to get in touch via LinkedIn, please do. We're always happy to talk to you.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, well, then I think we'll bring that to a close. Thank you very much for listening. I hope you found it useful. Hope you found it informative. And hopefully we might get to talk to you and meet some of you in the future.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.